Okay, welcome back to our playthrough. This is the second, or actually, if you count the setup adjustment, the third Soviet impulse. This is still turn one, and what we do each time we play the Soviets is start by drawing two Soviet command cards. And so, 1, 2. Okay, these are the two Soviet command fronts, one Voronezh front, one Southwest front. They are both supplemental cards, they're not primary, so in this case we decide who is going to be the main card, the auxiliary, and according to the rules, the higher command value card will be our main card, so that's going to be it. This is the command card, and this is going to be the 69th Army units. This is going to be our auxiliary card. Now, the first thing we do after we determine which card is the main card and which card is the auxiliary is to see if there is a command event that could be implemented in this turn, and it has to be an event, a command event, and not a special event. Events are can be both special or command events. We don't we don't execute the special events, we execute the command events. And there is the player aid that tells us what to do. I mean, they're explained here. Command events, the special events are these. We're not playing these. If they're an auxiliary card, we play the if it's a command event. And let's see what our goal. It says turns 1 to 5. It's got two events. This is for turns 1 to 5. Turn 1, that is, we are now on 6 onwards. This event comes into play, but right now we have this event which is command delay. So we go to our player aid, and what is command delay? If this card is the current auxiliary card and there are 4 or more cards in the Soviet draw pile, return this card to the draw pile and shuffle. Okay, and that's not, of course, if it's not the auxiliary card, or just for the sake of it, it's obvious that there are more than 4 cards have started. So this gets back in the draw pile. We shuffle. The cut, and we're ready. So now we are ready to go, and let's see, we have Southwestern Front, and if you remember the first time, we have to examine the orders here, the commands in turn, and in the order given on the card. So we examine first for this command and the next for if event. Well, of course the events are not for turn 1, so they wouldn't happen anyway, but just for, let me mention, just to be clear, but we wouldn't, even if it was an event for turn 1, we would have first examine if this the first command is applicable. And it's about mobile group pop-off. Okay, remember what I've said, consecutive activations, it can happen, and it says activate up to 2 units or stacks in mobile group pop-off, don't in a VP hex, and all MGP reserves. Okay, prefer supply. No, it's preference. So they're just preferences. They don't preclude us from. They don't force us to not to activate some units. Some units will be activated. So since there is an activation that's going to happen, the first thing we check is the formations objective marker. If we have to check, we already done it before, if we have to relocate the objective marker for the southwestern front. It doesn't matter that only group pop-off has activated. We check the objective for the whole front. So let's get to it. So these are units. This is the southwest front. All these units, some of these will be activated. So I'll take this objective. It's currently where it started, and the rules for relocating different objectives are 9.11. So let's start from the beginning. Well, the active Soviet front is the southwest front, and first we check if any unit of that front occupies the objective hex, of which no. It occupies a hex adjacent to a German occupied objective hex, or is proximate to, of course that doesn't. Or finally, if unit of the front, active or inactive, is proximate to the unoccupied objective hex. And I'm pretty certain that well, the first two don't apply, of course, and I'm pretty sure that no units are proximate, at least no Soviet front units are proximate, because, as I've said in the previous part, I think I've managed to keep my lines quite intact. So, but just for the sake of it, let's check. Let's start with these units that are closer, and of course they can't. This is surrounded, can't go anywhere. It would be zone to zone of control. This also can't go through these units, and the only hex that it could do would be backwards here, and then try to. This unit seems to be. It is the closest to the objective. 1, 2, 3. Okay, technically this is 2, but less movement points here. But in order for this unit or the other unit to get, they would have to break the zone of control here. They can't go through it. They have to go around. So again, we have zone of control here. So they can't go through here. So and quite amazingly, they can't go through here either. So the only viable option would be to go something like that, go past my units, and this is the only gap right now. Oh, sorry, let's see that. My bad. That's better. So right now, if we look closely at the map, this hex here, channel 5, is the only gap in my line. That is the only hex that's not covered by zones of control of my units. So in theory, one unit could go just through here and move all the way here, but even if it was just clear hexes and stuff like that, it could take what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, it's doable, but it's doable in 2 or 3 activation, but that's not what we're looking for. It has to be proximate. Proximate means in one single move it has to be able to enter the hex, because the hex is unoccupied. So okay, I think we've covered this in great detail. So no objective front relocate front objective relocation. And so we move to the next step of our activation. So let's see what we have to do, what we have to activate. The card calls to activate up to 2 units or stacks in a mobile group pop-off, and which are not in a VP hex. Well, that was only VP hex. No other unit is in VP hex right now. And all mobile group pop-off reserves. Okay, I haven't. You can have, if you remember from our previous time, I've shown you the reserve units box. No reserve units right now from mobile group pop-off. So in theory, all of these units, we have to select 2 of these to be activated. I mean, we've got one unit here, a stack of units here, another 1 unit here. Right now it says only mobile group pop-off, so I don't think they will be activated together. 1 unit here and 1 unit here, and we've got to choose 2 of them. And how do we do this? There are preferences on mentioned on the card. And let's start. The first preference is supplied. I mean, turn 1, every unit on the map is supplied, both for the Soviets and for us. So, okay, you can't go there. Second selector is not surrounded. Okay, so this excludes this unit from activation, because if you remember from previous Soviet impulse, due to the peculiarities of advancement, this unit got itself surrounded. I mean, there is zone on control or an enemy unit in every hex around this unit. So this unit is surrounded. So we will not check this. So we've got to choose between these 5 units. I mean, is this maybe this? No. This hex is not an enemy zone of control. No other unit is surrounded. Okay, just checking. And the third tiebreaker is highest strength. Okay, so we have to see that. Okay, that's a 2, that's a 6, and that's a 4. I'm not counting the first guard because we only get to activate the pop-off unit. And let's see what our stacks have. I mean, this is 9 combat strength, and this is 8. So we've got the highest strength, and yes, this is a 9 and this is an 8. So we don't need to go any further. We've got the 2 stacks that will be activated. Just for the sake of it, the next tiebreaker, I mean, if these 2 stacks were the same strength, and okay, if the same strength, it would be high, but there were let's say 3 stacks, another stack here, and we've got the same strength, then we would go to the stack with the most units, and then the last tiebreaker is the lowest selector. I mean, the stack of or the lone unit that would have the lowest selector number, it would the 2 with the lowest selector would be activated. But it's okay. So now we've got this stack strength 9 and this stack strength 8 that will be activated. Okay, so the next step is of course movement, and we have to check the movement methods of our units. This is turn 1. During turns 1 to 4 we check for with the Soviet movement methods group A, this particular set of movement methods. And let's start with the first one, which is in descending order, highest to lowest, with the title of Take VP hex. So and descending, yeah, descending. So take VP hex, and this can happen only in two ways: enter an empty German town or an empty VP hex like this one. No, it's there is not right now. I mean, the closest would be somewhere down the road here to 2 gig, but for the same reasons you can't reach 2 gig for Zmiev or whenever. I mean, that's not so. We don't. The same goes for 8. It can't go to empty German. Okay, this is a VP hex, but it's not German. It's a Soviet one. No? So no, it's not going to happen. And of course, the same goes for 5 and 4, and that's movement method 1. Let's go to movement method 2, which is adjusting. Adjustment to its ascending order and adjustment to German VP hex and near objective. So ascending, let's start with 4. It says move to hex closer to or within 4 hexes of the unit's objective marker. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And adjustment to German VP hex. Preferences, occupied, not across the river with the highest of the bar. Okay. It says here, this is a clause that says, because this unit, the number 4, let's get this. Okay, we're examining this unit, and it says that a Soviet unit starting adjacent to German VP hex, that's the case here, within 4 hexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes it is, within 4 hexes of the objective marker and unable to move to a more preferred VP hex, does not move by this or any subsequent method, except of course to get a tactical advantage. So let's see, it is within, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is adjacent, and a more preferred hex would be this one because it's closer to the objective, but this one is already occupied by 5 steps, and we cannot exceed 6 steps, so it can't move, and it would be able to move 1, 2, 3, 4. It could move here, and that's what we're going to do, because we're instructed to do this by 925, and the 925 is, let me remind you, it's tactical preferences when moving adjacent to German units. Apply the movement method that calls for a Soviet unit starting adjacent to German units to not move. That's the case here, because this unit shouldn't move, but only for tactical preferences. And tactical preferences instruct us to prefer a hex within the current Soviet operational limit, okay, a hex that would cause the German unit to become surrounded, no, a hex in Soviet support, all hexes are in Soviet support right now, a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit, no, and an empty or garrisoned hex. Yes, there is an empty hex right here, so we can move this unit because we could do this in theory. It will just go there, but in theory we need 2 to break a zone of control, and then another 2 because we're crossing terrain effect chart, we're crossing a minor river, it's +1, 2 + 2, and it will go here. And so this is we're improving actually the units placement, because the system tries to, you know, flank enemy units, surround them if possible. So that move is consistent with that. So we have examined number 4. Next selector, ascending number 5, closer to or within 4 hexes again. Okay. Again, this unit, this is the only VP hex okay, this VP hex is also, but it's too far away because we've got 4 movement. I mean, just for the sake of it, let's confirm it. We have to cross the Donets river. It's +1. It's for number 5. I said, yeah, it's infantry. It's +1 to cross it, plus 2 for woods. It would be 3 just to get across the river. +1 would get into Slavyansk, but no way we can reach this VP hex or any other VP hex. But we can reach Izium. So the same here, adjacent, and let's check the preferences. Targeted, of course, it's targeted by the front, occupied by the least German strength. I mean, doesn't matter. We don't have a choice here. Just 1 hex. Not across a Dnieper river. No, Tripoli is quite far away. With the highest VP value, I mean, there is only 1 hex. And of course, it's starting. And this, it could go, now this unit, it's 3 steps. It could go either here or here. And let's count the steps. It would be closer. Now it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if it could come here or here, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is closer to objective and adjacent to German VP hex. So it can't go here, of course, because stacking limits. And let's check again. It has 2 potential hexes into which it can go. So let's check our tactical preferences. So because it can come just 2, it can come here, or it can go 1 plus minor river, no cost for infantry. So 1 plus 1, 2, and come right here and stop its movement because it has entered the zone of control. So which of the 2? And let's go to the preferences in 925, I think. Let me. Yeah, 925. Hex within, of course, within the personal limit would cause no chance of getting surrounded. Hex Soviet support. Hex not adjacent to Soviet unit. No, there's no such as. Empty garrison. No, and a hex not occupied by an active unit. But both hexes of possible destinations are occupied by the movement unit. So I think there are some general type breakers. Okay, just above it. No, no type breakers can help us here. So there are some general type breakers, movement method type breakers. If more than one destination hex meets the requirements and preferences of a given, prefer A, closest to the units of objective market if in play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the same. Empty hex. Oh God, it's not. The hex farthest in the compass direction indicated
on the objective marker if in place. So this is where this W comes, and W means west, and let me remind you that in this game west is down. It's here because this map is oriented, and I love it so that it helps us, gives functionality, helps us as a player a different orientation. If we wanted to give north up, it will have to be a rather long map, so that's nice, but okay. So west is down, so we prefer the hex that is more furthest in the compass direction. So yeah, I would say that but not by too much, but by a little bit. This I mean this 1504 would be furthest in the compass direction. Yeah, just a little bit, but it still is. So these two units have moved, and okay, adjustment to German VP hex. Next unit we have to check is number, and now this hex contains 5 steps, so that's kind of full. And now number 8. Number 8, again the same. Starts adjusting to German VP hex within 4 hexes, unable to move to more preferred hex. There is no preferred hex here. A better hex for this unit to be, and so the clause that says does not move by this or any subsequent method, except as 925 we can't use 925 because no other hex apply. So this movement, they will say that it has to stay just right there. And last but not least, this before G pop off, and now selector number 9. Again, by the same process, there is only one hex that could go and be adjacent to German objective, and to German VP hex and near objective, and this is this hex here, 1603. And this concludes the movement phase, because every unit has either moved, these 3 units have actually moved, and the other unit, the unit that's down here, were instructed not to move it by this or any subsequent method. And this concludes the movement phase. No other active units, the other units in Popov, are not activated. This card activates just some units of mobile group Popov. And so this concludes the Soviet movements, and then we'll move in our next part. We will move to make some attack checks. So see you in the next part.